viewers. Today we have a special interview here at the IIP Vienna. We have our guest who is studying law at Vienna University. His name is Srdjan Barasin and he is originally from Banja Luka in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We will be doing an interview about the recent elections which happened on Sunday, the 2nd of October in 2022 in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where we will cover the results. Dear Srdjan, thank you very much for the interview that you're willing to give us.
Luka, thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. So let's start immediately with the results of the election. So we had on several levels in election. We had the Parliament of the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Then we had the Parliament of Republika Srpska, the entity. Then the President of Republika Srpska. Then the Presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then the House of the Representatives of Bosnia and Herzegovina as a whole country, if I understand correctly.
Yes, correct. And on the level in federation, there is every canton has their own assembly. So that's
so
one more thing.
Basically, more than 5, 6, 7 levels of
I think
of
so.
elections. Many people say that it's a complex political system and that basically this complexity of the system is the reason why the turnout is always low, why the people are leaving the country, why there is so many disappointment within the political system of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Is that true?
I would say that's true, but the main reason for that is that nationalism, values of nationalism are dominating in our societies in Bosnia, or society in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because that so big administration, I think, is the only way to prevent more tensions than there is actually, and that there can be. On the other side, it's bad because it's a good path for clientelism, for corruption, for like good reason to leave the country.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in political party, basically there is not many chances for you as an individual to find a normal job if it's not job in the government, in the public service. So yeah.
Let us turn to I would say the presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was also a little bit of an how to say, exceptional result that Bakir Izetbegovic didn't win the Bosniak seat in the presidency, and that Bečirović won actually the seat. How would you comment on this?
It was actually for me personally a big surprise what happened, because also I think it's the first time in history of Bosnia and Herzegovina that we have now in state presidency three people who present themselves as social democrats, at least declaratively. But the problem is that their programs are not social democrats. Every political agenda and every policy in Bosnia and Herzegovina and also in the state's presidency is based on nationalistic values, on nationalism. So, for example, Željko Komšić, he is not a Croatian nationalist, but he wouldn't be there if there were no Croatian nationalism, because his policy is anti-nationalism, anti-nationalistic. So, and on the other side, although even though three of them are present themselves as social democrats, nobody in political campaign spoke about increased poverty, about social issues. Speeches were mostly about actually against the other candidates. Yeah.
The new, if I may say so, the new face is not only Bečirović, it is also Željko Cvijanović,
Yep.
who was until recently the president of Republika Srpska.
Yep.
Okay. How would you actually basically describe the future role of Željka Cvijanović within the presidency? So will she deliver to the cooperation with the other two presidents, or will she strive on her own path and strive this nationalistic, some say secessionism policies of Republika Srpska? Will she be willing to cooperate with the others?
You have to understand that she is a good party soldier. He is not a person in power. And it may be better for the presidency that her rhetorics is kind of milder than the rhetorics of Dodik, who is man in charge, and also people in Bosnia and Herzegovina take him more serious than she, because she is she has not that leading role.
So we can say that her role would be like some kind of, let's say so, puppet of Milorad Dodik in the presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
If you would like to formulate that like that, I don't have nothing to say against it.
Okay, so when we come to the parliament of Republika Srpska, or the parliament of Republika Srpska, it is really interesting to see. I'm sorry, but this is how it looks like when Bosnia is having elections. Those are all the results, preliminary results. When it comes to the parliament of Republika Srpska, we see that the party from Milorad Dodik, the political party from Milorad Dodik, the SNSD, won 35% approximately of the votes, and that the next second biggest party who won is the SDS party, the Srpska Democratic Party.
Serbian Democratic Party.
Serbian Democratic Party with 15%. Then we have PDP, Partija Demokratskog Progresa, so it's like the Party of Democratic Progress, which won around 9% to 10%. What is interesting is that the second candidate for the presidency in Republika Srpska, so for the president of Republika Srpska, was Jelena Trivić. She was a member, and she is still a member of the PDP party, and she won around 42-43%, as we know right now, of the popular vote, and her party won only 10% in the parliament. How can we describe this situation in Republika Srpska? So on the one hand, we have Milorad Dodik for the president, who actually also won, as the latest results are, with 48%. And on the other hand, we have Jelena Trivić from the PDP. She won around 42%. When it comes, so it's a close vote for the president, but when it comes to the parliament, Dodik's party has 35%, and the party from Jelena has 10%. So
that's all you said is true. The Alliance of Independent Social Democrats is Dodik's party, and it is the strongest party in Republic of Srpska, and I would say the only one serious party in that terms of party infrastructure, of activists, and like what is need to be like big serious party, and their result as a party show that they have the biggest support. The close vote between the close difference between Trivić and Dodik showed us that most of people who voted for personality voted also against that personality. So that's why there is big discrepancy between party of Trivić and Trivić herself, because also the whole opposition who was against Dodik voted for her.
So this is where the votes come from for the presidency.
Yeah, and also from the people who are kind of independent and who are a bit bored to see every day the same people for like 16 years. For example, I was 11 when Dodik came into power. I don't support their policies. I don't support the clientelism of his party. I don't like their rhetorics, but truth be told, it's the biggest and the strongest party in Republic of Srpska. That's the fact I don't like, but what can I do?
Tell me a little bit about how you see the future of Bosnia and Herzegovina, because I think that after the elections and everything, what happened, one can actually somehow say something about the future. If it's a more positive one than it was before the elections, or do you think that it will stay the same, or do you think that it will be even worse than it was before the elections?
Two big things happened in the night of election. It's the loss of Bakir Izetbegovic, and that High Representative Christian Schmidt proclaimed some new rules in electoral law, and he used the situation and the euphoria of election night to do that. That new rules secure power and the role of Croatian nation in Bosnia and Herzegovina on the level of parliamentary level in Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Okay.
It was his promise that he will secure their position, so he has done that in the electoral night. And what was the second question? Can you repeat?
I was talking about and asking you about the future of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah.
So how
That's why I mentioned High Representative. Now it's the time when all the people in Bosnia see the actual role of High Representative. We can support him and that institution or not, but we should never forget that his role was never to make reforms, make kind of social reforms about salaries, minimum wages and stuff like that, but his crucial role is to maintain peace and political stability. I don't think that all people in Bosnia and Herzegovina understand that in this way today, but I think, of course, we should never forget it, and we should always say, for example, our own opinion about that and about that institution. I don't like that institution personally. It's not good for European democracy to have a person with more sovereignty than the whole state altogether. That's just not a natural thing. For example, he has more powers. High Representative in Bosnia and Herzegovina has more powers than King Charles in United Kingdom. You know, but his role is to maintain peace and political stability, and I hope that he intervenes when that comes in question.
Do you think that this intervention which happened on the night of the elections, do you think that it's a good intervention or it is a bad intervention?
I think it's a practical intervention, because I should remind you that in Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina there was no government for 4 years. It was the very same government people elected in 2014. In 2018, because of that, because of the position of Croats, they couldn't be able to form a new government. So it was the very same government for 8 years who was not re-elected.
Because of the Croats who blocked the...
Yes, they blocked because they were outvoted in the presidency.
Yeah. So when we come to the young people in Bosnia and Herzegovina, also to touch a bit, because we are doing this short interview, so I want to touch upon several things, but the youth of Bosnia and Herzegovina. I was talking to some people who were overwatching the elections at the embassy of Bosnia and Herzegovina here in Vienna, and actually some of them told me that there was a pretty high number of young people who came to vote at the embassy here. So from the diaspora, there were many young people who came to vote. Actually, they were the majority of the voters in Vienna. I'm not talking about Graz, I'm not talking about Salzburg, I'm talking about the votes who came from the embassy or through the embassy of Bosnia and Herzegovina in Vienna, and also not the postal votes. So it is interesting. How would you describe, but maybe also within your friends group and generally people that you know from Bosnia and Herzegovina, how would you describe the participation of the youth in those elections which happened 2 days ago?
I'm glad that you mentioned youth and in the context of future of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but let's be honest, there is no true pluralism at least in Republic of Srpska, but also in whole Bosnia and Herzegovina. There is no ideologic, of course, there is pluralism in terms of political parties. You have different figures and you vote for them if you like this one or don't like that one. But there is no ideologically pluralism. And people who vote, they vote for the very same nationalistic agenda. And I'm glad that young people vote, but I'm afraid who were the votes for. Yeah.
So you would basically say what I also heard from many people in Bosnia and Herzegovina, that the youth is also very much shaped by the nationalistic politics and by the nationalistic agendas of the parties, and also by the nationalism which they were taught within.
That's true.
Schools, families.
That's true. That's true.
Where would you? I'm sorry for interrupting you, but it's interesting. Where does the nationalism in Bosnia and Herzegovina has its roots? Your view.
It's like if you look at the history of that part of the world, it's the biggest problem there is in last few hundred years. Like,
so
I don't know.
You would say that
I would say it's people often say that the biggest problem in Bosnia and Herzegovina is corruption, is clientelism, that political parties who trade with the interests of individuals, but the core of that is in nationalism. At this point of time, I can say only that we get a base to be nationalists already in school, but I'm not a researcher. I tell you only my feeling. I don't have any kind of argument at the moment, but I can research that and find the examples. But I went in school there, and it's a good base for nationalism and for that policies actually. Young people who vote and also diaspora, especially diaspora, supports the nationalistic agendas unproportional. Like it's not proportional, you know, and I cannot. I'm not able to explain that. Nobody offered me some clarification that how is it possible that you went to Austria, you moved to Austria, and you see what happens in Austria. It's kind of to Vienna, for example. It's a dominantly leftist city, not leftist in the terms of Bologna, for example, but in Austrian terms, it's leftist city, and you support values that force you to leave your country and to move, and you support politicians who are the very same reason for your leave.
It is interesting because it seems that this happens all across the region in the Western Balkan 6. Not only in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah, it happens also in Turkey and in that kind of states. For example, the diaspora of Turkey supports mostly Erdogan and his policies. So it's I don't understand that. It's for me only a phenomenon that's destructive. In the first place, it's a destructive phenomenon for me. And yeah, I would like to see research of some anthropologists and behavioral psychologists about that, because it's not logical.
Let me ask you some short last questions. Do you see Bosnia and Herzegovina in the future as a part of the EU?
I hope the Bosnia and Herzegovina will be part of EU.
Do you see Bosnia and Herzegovina as a united country in the future?
I hope Bosnia and Herzegovina will be a country where all people will live together happy and will have their own lives with all kind of resolved issues. But we have to be realistic. You cannot go into European Union as long as you have high representative, because his role is colliding with the sovereignty of a state which has to be sovereign to be part of European Union. But I also think that that kind of reforms that don't happen are also partly mistake of European Union, because there was no politician from European Union who came there and showed with his example, with his personality, what is like to be normal politician, to be. Mostly they sent us some bureaucrats who like, I don't want to be vulgar, but who just do their formal things on the paper, give the money, do with money whatever you want, and it's. I never saw that politics of European Union in Bosnia and Herzegovina was based on integration of people, of people, like of normal people, of you and me. It was always when I hear that big words like integration, like I don't see any future in that kind of I don't trust that kind of policies, and I'm sad because of that, because I want that my country is part of European Union, and I think the European Union is the only thing actually right now that can save Bosnia and Herzegovina in its like
shape and format.
Yeah.
Last question: will you return to Bosnia and Herzegovina at some point of your life?
I don't know. In every young people. Every young person, sorry, you have to cut this. No. Who wants a kind of normal life and to raise their children in normal society, they wouldn't choose Bosnia and Herzegovina for place of living. I don't know. I would like to be with my family at my home, but I don't know. When you look in the present, you see the future, because if you, if you look at profiles of young politicians, of youth, what are their values? Nationalism, its atmosphere is destructive. I don't like that, and I don't know what brings my future to me.